Hello, everyone. This is Piero San Giorgio. I am very happy today to talk with Christian Oesch. Do I pronounce it correctly?
Almost. Oesch.
Almost. Oesch.
Oesch. Oesch.
Great. Oh well. See, I'm Swiss, but I just became Swiss 30 years ago, so I'm still not really familiar with the pronunciation. I'm so sorry, but anyway, I'm very happy to speak to you today because I think we share a lot of similar background, but I think it's very interesting to have your point of view about Switzerland. Perhaps to start, can you give us a little bit of your life track and background?
Yes. First of all, thank you very much, Piero, for inviting me to have a little chat with you here today. And I'm just as equally excited to learn more about you and stuff. So, and actually, we live not too far away, we found out. So, we are definitely going to have a chance meeting in person as well. So, yeah, my background is I grew up in Switzerland and I became a chef. That's that was my initial profession. And with that skill set, I had an opportunity to go across the ocean, and I ended up in the United States after my military time. And just really didn't have much plan to stay there, but it just happened. I skied for the Swiss. I was ski racing, and had to abruptly change my career from ski racing and stuff back because of an accident. And then I extended my career back in the United States. And first I was in Florida, Miami, and then I ended the first winter. That was in 1988 in Rocky Mountains in Park City, Utah. And back then they used to have still the World Cup races, and that's where I ended up. Also working as a chef, was for a Swiss restaurateur, and that's how I started over there. And I ended up having my own restaurants, my own catering company, and I did that for 16 years. That was my career at multiple ventures in that regards. And then I did a pretty sudden career change because I wanted to know more about business in general. And that was just, with the whole .com times, and I had an opportunity to work in Silicon Valley and got involved with all these ventures and ideas and business plan formations and, angel investors, capital, ventures stuff. And so I got into understanding more and more about the money, and I started figuring out, oh, whoa, to really understand what is money all about, you really have to research very, very deep. And so I got caught in it, and I could never go back. So ever since, this is now over almost 25 years now, I have researched the monetary system, and you can't help yourself to also research the traditional system once you get into understanding the debt monetary system, the modern money mechanics. And so we went all the way to the Federal Reserve Chicago. We learned about the white paper called Modern Money Mechanics. Third page, who creates money? So, so that was pretty amazing. And you know how it is. I'm really into entrepreneurial and kind of innovative. So we were a few people that recognized that the monetary system really is based on fraud. And based on that, we challenged the banks in the United States to show us where they took the money from to even lend it to us. So that opened the whole thing, and we ended up eliminating credit card debt for clients based on an educational system or program where we developed the templates, and they were just able to fill in the blanks, and then we gave them backup support. But we pretty much wanted them to learn this whole thing. And based on that, we pretty much within 2.5, 3 years, we eliminated almost $40 million in consumer debts across the United States. And that was based on unsecured debts. And at least we thought, and we were told this was unsecured debt, and it ended up being secured debts. They came after people like crazy. And then, the subprime 2008 with all the HELOC issues when the whole banking situation collapsed, Lehman Brothers collapsed and all that, UBS here, Switzerland. Then this when, they had to do with all these HELOCs, these loans and really bad loans. So we then extended our concept and we got into those aspects with keeping people in the houses And again, based on banks show us, where did you grab the money to give it to us as a loan? And they could never show us. So the whole monetary system is all we were picking apart, and we were benefiting people all across. And it was a really interesting time for me to learn and learn and learn. But even back then, I learned about other parts of the government systems, the world systems, in all regards. And I recognized that we're really going towards a pretty interesting time where, preparedness is a big deal. So in other words, preparedness, trying to become independent from the government so you can sustain life as good as possible away from the government and the socialist systems. And so we tried other things, and I even ended up having a venture fund in the Cayman Islands. We were trading Forex, and we were trying all sorts of great stuff. And in 2002, I was the Utah state coordinator for the We the People Foundation together with Bob Schultz. And we coordinated a caravan from San Francisco all the way to Washington, D.C. And it was a demonstration, based on no answers, no taxes. So that's when I really got in on the sidelines into activism. And activism really got me going after 9/11. When I saw these airplanes hit the towers, or at least this is what we were shown in the this is where I said to my wife, no way. When I saw the first plane, but the second one, for me, that was it. That was overdone. That's no way in the United States with all the military assets we have, all the secret, service and CIA type stuff. There is no way for me that was going to ever believe what happened on 9/11. So that really got me into researching behind the scenes. And this is really where I ended up going into the direction where I'm at now. I came back into Switzerland in 2012. And at that time, I was a CEO and general manager for an international health platform, alternative and integrative health platform. And I managed that here in Switzerland all the way to the end of 2018. And after that, I worked for a physics professor here in Switzerland, somebody from Germany. And we were helping people with electrosmog. So it was always kind of in regards to health. It always kept me going in that direction. So I'm still now in regards to health, but a lot more activism. I started a nonprofit organization in 2019, beginning of 2020. And we have different subjects that we're now addressing, such as 5G, self-preparedness, crisis management. We have also a real marketplace where we connect people locally and regionally. So we're dealing with manufacturers, the farmers, for all this, the self-preparedness, the whole community. And we're prepping here for what really is coming on the horizon. I think it's going to be pretty crazy with worldwide government push for, war and all sorts of issues that we probably will address in more detail. But this is where we are at now. Since 5 years, I've been very, very active with this organization, the nonprofit. And 2 years now, going on 2 years full time. I stopped everything else. I am just focusing on preparing people for what's coming on the horizon. I literally sold my company. I got I cleaned the accounts so the banks can't steal the money. And we put it into all sorts of preparedness. And that's where we're at. And we've built a pretty large network. We have a pretty substantial network here in Switzerland, which is reaching into Germany and Austria and even to the United States. So we have people around the world that kind of follow our content and based on the themes and the projects that we have been working on. And probably the most exciting thing that we've been doing just lately is the UN Agenda 2030. We looked at these 17 targets, what they have in mind, and we unraveled that. So we had someone that helped us with a really fantastic video, kind of rebutting what those 17 goals are. and showing the people really what's truly behind the digitalization, the transhumanization, and what's really here with the push with the World Health Organization, with the UN, the one world government push, for ultimate control. And that's really what really was shared worldwide, that program has gone crazy, got shared everywhere. And that's really where we're at right now. And I just listened literally this week. We're prepping all the final stuff. Next week, we're showing the premiere of a documentary documentary film, 90 minutes, about the digital dilemma. And that's all ready to go into multiple languages. We're doing it in German now. We'll be in English next, and then French and Spanish. And so we're going to put that out there for people to see what's going on with the digitalization and how this is impacting us and our children.
Fantastic. It seems your background is exactly the same, but in German than mine, which is in French. But very, very interesting. And I'm sure we have some friends on Sand Hill Road, just the same.
Yeah.
Well, Switzerland became a very bizarre country for a lot of people who are opening eyes after the COVID situation. As you may or may not know, but I wrote a book about pandemics in 2016, explaining how you manage risks of pandemics and other similar risks. And I actually went to interview people, not in Spitz, where the Swiss Army has a center for NRBC protection and training. And they were all, at the time in 2016, they were saying, yes, we have plans for pandemics. And when 2020 arrived, I know from them, of course, that they presented, of course, the plan to our great leaders in Bern. And the plan was just plan that is 20 years in the making, coordinating with civil protection, with the hospitals, with in canton, in all sorts of way, and also with other countries. And this plan, which is very sophisticated, was thrown away to implement something from elsewhere, from the world, from the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people like me, for sure, this was felt like a betrayal, first of all, of democracy, because after all our system, the army and all that, is it's supposed to be a democratic system. And also a betrayal of our financial and institutions in general, on how you can suddenly take control of a country which is supposed to be of free people and make it almost a confinement. It was not so bad as in France or Italy, but suddenly we were, we can open the supermarkets, but not the shops. And what is this thing? And it opened the eye for a lot of people. How did you see this? How do you see our country, Switzerland, changing so fast? You have a few years more than me, but certainly we are about the same generation. How do you see this happening in our country, in Switzerland?
I can only agree with you, Piero, that it was very, very strange, because through other resources, I was able to confirm some things, and I can maybe come back to that in a little bit. For me, it was also strange, but I was not surprised. I was given a heads up, kind of what's going on, because I have certain ties still in the United States, Secret Service. And I was already primed in 2007 to sell my house at the right time before the collapse. So this is the kind of insight. So my wife she couldn't understand why we would want to sell the house with all the equity in it in the end of 2007 in November. I says, now we need to sell now, but that doesn't mean it's going to keep up there. And sure enough, six months later, our house that we had sold was less than 50% worth, in spring 2008. So the same people gave me a heads up what's coming, because in August 2019, the international bankers were meeting in Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Yes.
And there the key bankers, okay, the BIS, Bank of International Settlement here in Basel, Switzerland, they were all present too in Jackson Hole. And there they were actually sitting around a nice table. And that's when they decided the going direct reset. In other words, they pushed the button then because the debt monetary system was actually absolutely in dire, okay, situation. They needed to have an event to pretty much give that debt monetary system another chance. And with the pandemic or the plan, with pandemic, they had the opportunity for all 194 nations, member states of the World Health Organization, to cause this pandemic, okay, through panic and all that stuff. That allowed for each nation to print money like crazy. Here in Switzerland, we came about 144 milliarden. That's in US dollars, billions, but in Switzerland it's milliarden. Okay, so it's 144,000 millions if you look at it that way. So it's a lot of money. Okay, so that allowed for Switzerland to pay for the Kurztime, the short time, and all that stuff, the cost for closing businesses and all that. Now you can imagine that happened in all other nations. So this is why this whole event was really all scheduled. This is, the event 201 that happened in the fall of 2019 in the United States with the Bill Gates Foundation, Johns Hopkins University, the World Health Organization. So all these, plus a lot of PR firms and marketing, in other words, news media outlets were there present for what? And there were also military people there. So I was recognizing this was a top financial planned strategic plan. And it's a plan, in other words, it's like a contract for the military and the Secret Service to actually implement. And then the UN Charter, if you follow that a little bit, and the World Health Organization is below the UN, okay? So the World Health is the health branch of the New World Order government infrastructure, the UN, so to say. And through that panic making, angst making, so to say, pandemic, they were able to get everybody right, into the program. So I think here in Switzerland, and I'm coming back to what I first mentioned, I know a federal council member, a female. I don't say the name yet. I will get in trouble, probably. A female member was already in the federal council in Switzerland in 2014, moving people around internally at the capital to position everything with the pandemic law, the revisions of our pandemic law here. And there's a big deal going on right now here in Switzerland about that now again for making more of the edits. But back in 2014, that lady was moving and shuffling things around to make room for what then happened in 2020. So in other words, we have like you said, in the special lab, okay, in Spiez, here in Bernese Oberland, high secret laboratory, top facilities and stuff. We have a team or had a team at the Swiss government that was at any time prepared to deal with a pandemic. In other words, there is the Kochsche Postulate, the postulates, the Koch postulates. So in other words, in vivo, in vitro, they would have to confirm, in other words, in the lab and in animal testing, if we really have to deal with ein Krankheitserreger. In other words, do we have really a deadly pandemic in our hands? That whole team that was set, ready to go and trained for that was set aside, and the Swiss government went to the ETH Zurich and put together the task force that then made up all the rules and what's happening through that pandemic. It was all set up, it was all planned, and that's the reason why worldwide everything happened at the same time and everybody said the same thing. That's how much I know about this in a nutshell, Piero.
Yep, I have the same story, confirmed. And so it's interesting how we do, and to our viewers, Have we ever met before?
Never. First
Never.
time. We tried
So,
to come together for an interview for like months.
exactly. But it's interesting to see that not only the background is very similar, but we probably know the same people. We probably have the same people who don't like us. That's quite interesting as well. I'm sure here in Switzerland. So about Switzerland, I've been here since 1974, and I've been naturalized around 1991, I think, or 92. Can't remember, but certainly Switzerland was for me. I come from North Italy originally. Switzerland was an incredible country for democracy, for having your say in local government and national government as well, and for sure an economy that was very liberal. That was actually very difficult to come into. It was difficult at my time to become Swiss. It was difficult to even be able to work in Switzerland, but certainly it was very liberal economically, low taxes in general, and it didn't have the same problems as elsewhere in the world. In fact, it profited from other people doing stupid things, such as high taxation, wars, things like that. And we would be, as a country, smart in a way to take advantage of the problems
Yeah.
that other people were putting on themselves. I actually never thought that Switzerland was bad. In fact, for me, this was very smart and very good. And we need people with we need actually having low taxes is very good, and having peace is very good as well. And in the last 4 years, we've seen the betrayal of democracy and the protocols as you described. We also have seen, this is a longer process, we have seen the same patterns of strange immigration as you see in other countries around, especially in Europe, where basically you bring people who not necessarily always contribute to the social life and the economy, let's put it this way, and in massive numbers, just as other countries are doing, like UK, France, and so on. And very recently, we've had the completely abandonment of neutrality with the taking sides, and even talking about military support to Ukraine in the conflict there is with Russia. And you know, my older son, I have 4 kids. My older son is about to start his military service here in Switzerland, and I don't want to influence him. So of course I'm very happy that he goes to Ticino to do that. So it's going to be very tough for him, but it's good. And I was wondering, if I had to do today, knowing what I know, would I want to defend my country? Would I want to be part of the military system? Would I defend the country knowing what I know today? And in my soul, my answer would be no. And again, I'm not influencing him. I hope he doesn't watch this video. He doesn't. And anyway, I was wondering, how do you see this change in Switzerland, in society, in the way the difference between how people think in the cities and in the countryside, the political system who doesn't apply the laws that the people have voted in some cases. Are you optimistic for the country or not so much?
That is an excellent question. And I mean, we both together don't have a crystal ball, okay? But when I kind of watch, and I don't really go for what people say, I watch what people do, and that's quite a different story. When you follow the media, especially the mainstream media, and you kind of see what's happening worldwide with the current wars, with the sanctions, what all triggered. The way I understand it is you know, we had the opportunity here in my small, tight group, where we were spending almost 1.5, it was quite a period of 1.5 years over that time where this whole pandemic happened, slightly before the whole thing went crazy. So we recognized, we were meeting down in the bunkers. We had military active and people that already were in pension, military officers, professional people that they make their living in the military. So we don't have that many left in Switzerland that work for a living in the military, that they shrink so much down. And we were meeting in these bunkers to be safe, not to be hurt and be picked up by whatever devices. So we had this one person that allowed us going into these bunkers, and we always moved from one to the other. This person died last year, is no longer with us. That's why I can even talk about it. I won't say names and stuff like that. Down in these bunkers, we looked at the whole strategy worldwide for this one world government to come together, okay? You look at the financial system, you look at all the different interests and stuff, the races, the religions, all this stuff. And we went deep down into history and all the way to the absolute, actual, present activities that are really supercharging what's happening in this world right now. So we looked at this, we really were into a destabilization phase all the way to the end of March until they actually called out that pandemic worldwide. That was a destabilization. And then that really happened all the way on through February 24th, 2022. That's the day when Russia started their special operations into the Ukraine. And in our strategic planning down in the bunkers, we said the minute we start having that war, because we saw it happening, that's coming, because of that civil war starting 2014, they saw the whole thing, the coup. We knew that was coming. So once we have big war and the real big sanctions happening, that's when we go into the deconstruction phase of the world. Because for the new world order to be implemented, that means CDBC, central banking system, losing cash. So we don't have any cash anymore, blah, blah, blah. They have to deconstruct the economy, okay? So business go bankrupt, a lot of unemployment, people go into really dire situation. They lose control, chaos, probably even civil war. That's a deconstruction phase. And then all the way till they go into the reconstruction. So when they have everybody on their knees, praying to the government, we need food, we need help, and they have the system, the one world government system, in other words, CDBC. Yes, you can have money, you can have food, but you need to have a QR code. In order to have a QR code, you need to have your injections taken. In other words, anything we're going to give you, you're going to have to put into your body. So that would fit with Henry Kissinger's depopulation agenda. So it's really complex, and we could talk hours here, Piero. So when I look, okay, what's happening with Switzerland? I think Switzerland is the central part. It's the hub of everything. You see the NGOs, everything that UN, World Health, Gavi, the Biz. You got, CERN, CIA, all the stuff is all out of Switzerland. They come in and get out of here. And I don't know if you have the same numbers, Piero, but I have people that told me that should know. I can't confirm it, that we have 120, at least 120 CIA agents with a Swiss passport that go in and out of Switzerland, like you and I into our own home. And I have people in the military that confirmed, and that's with the electronic war, facilities, that we have US generals going in and out of Switzerland into these buildings, into these bunkers and facilities, high tech, extremely, confidential stuff. 20 years, generals going in and out of here. And I just learned last week from an officer, he was up in the grades. He shared with me that they now have 6 locations here in Switzerland where they will deposit air defense systems from NATO. US air defense systems here in Switzerland, that shield system that they're all talking about, Austria, Switzerland together, blah, blah, blah. So in other words, you and I probably both know, I was in the special forces here in military, they're not stupid. They're not bringing high-tech systems from NATO, United States into Switzerland and give control to the Swiss, military personnel. So in other words, that's one way they're going to take control of Switzerland. And what happened to the banking system here, Credit Suisse got absorbed into UBS last year. So they're setting the stage to have Switzerland absorbed. And here I may have to apologize, but I'm going to say it now on your show. I've never seen this in public, sure. The way I analyze the current situation with Switzerland is because we're looked at as the most stable nation, the democracy. Excuse me, I got to shut this down here for a second. Excuse me. So, the situation here with Credit Suisse is such, with the whole, if they want to get the whole worldwide, the worldwide nations to watch Switzerland collapse and start the domino effect, it would not be a better nation than Switzerland to look at the most stable democracy, stable currency, stable, governments. We got the Swiss military. Everybody's got the gun at home, yeah, but we don't have any ammo anymore like we used to have. Blah blah blah. So then we have the banking system now. One big bank, UBS, twice the size of the gross domestic product of all of Switzerland. So if UBS bites the dust in the next banking crash, or coordinated with the economic crash, when UBS bites the dust, it will literally bring the Swiss National Bank, the central bank of Switzerland, it will bring it back down with it because they have lost a lot of money. The Swiss National Bank last year had major losses. So yes, it would start the domino effect. So it would collapse Switzerland, and Switzerland would move in and over into the EU, extremely unstable communist manifesto organization anyway, with ECB, the European central bank. So it would consolidate that pain in the ass island in the middle of everything, Switzerland, into everything else, and then everything else will be collapsing. And if this epic centrum is Switzerland, nobody would ever question is like, oh my God, now we have a problem. And we understand our government too has to fold, and we all go broke, and all the small banks go broke. There's just going to be one bank, the central bank, and everybody has a UBI, universal basic income account with the central bank. Everything else is toast. I can see this as the ultimate goal. And if they prepare Switzerland for that major fall, I think if we look at the agenda 2030, I cannot, if I were on their strategic table and I would want to consider taking over the world control, I would probably do a plan like this. Just go rip the heart out, and everything else will fall on top of it. That is, in a nutshell, how I see it. Switzerland is an extremely dangerous situation right now. And then there's other scenarios that say, well, you have all these private jets that are going to come fly here to Gstaad and St. Moritz, and they're going to be going into their $40 million bunkers. Not sure, Piero.
Well, it's two interesting scenarios because clearly a lot of the very wealthy people we know in Gstaad and some more in Geneva and on the Gold Coast of Zurich, when I talk to them, they're not really aware, or at least they don't seem to be very aware about the developments of the world. They're still very narrow, either on their business focus or on managing their wealth, which is considerable, based out of Switzerland. And the Swiss we have a lot of private banks which are still very big, Lombard Odier Ranch and Julius Baer and a few others, and small ones as well, who manage considerable amounts of wealth, spread out across the whole world. And these people, some of them have power, they have influence, and yet they don't seem to be very much aware about these changes in the world. Some even got the shot in the arm a few times, and some even died. So it's very paradoxical that we always say that these rich elites rule the world, and at the same time, I'm not so sure that all of them are even aware of the plan they're part of, or maybe they're not as smart as you, because the plan you described for me sounds much smarter than what they are able to do. But maybe I'm dismissive of them. I don't know.
Who are we, right, Piero? What do we know?
Well, for sure, we read a lot. That's for sure. And so so we talk about Switzerland. So let's talk about two slightly bigger countries, Russia and China.
Yeah.
You see them as part of the plan or totally now in conflict and competition in a truly bipolar world? Because the BRICS are really, I worked many years in Africa, and I can see, and from all my contacts that are high level in Africa, I can see a big, I think they're a bit naive, or at least they show it to be, but certainly all these African countries and third world countries, they used to be the non-aligned countries, are now excited to move with China and Russia and India to be a opposite pole to what they see as a dying West, because homosexual marriage for a lot of the world is like the devil. And so this was I don't know if it was made on purpose, but certainly this is was a very bad move to make sure that the rest of the world, which has a lot of natural resources yet still, doesn't flow to Russia and China, which they're doing. So how do you see that? Do you see controlled opposition, or do you see this as a real conflict brewing up?
That is also an excellent question. It's a very loaded question, and because this is probably the most frequent question that I'm being asked by pretty serious people, is like, how do you see it, Christian? Because we hit the nail pretty good a few times now. We haven't been off. We have been really right on the mark with all the preparedness and stuff that we do. But this one here, I'm going to say it how it is. The power is in the United States. If you look, the digitalization, all the high-tech companies, if you look Apple, Microsoft, you look Google, okay, all these things, Facebook, blah, 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 Amazon, you have all these powerhouses in the United States, and also the financial institutions. If you look BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, okay, Fidelity, JP Morgan, all this stuff is extremely, extremely US-based, okay? So, but these folks that manage those organizations, most of BlackRock owns, BlackRock has its fingers everywhere in all worldwide. So what I see happening is there is a worldwide group on top of the whole monetary system, guys, that we see in public. There is a secret society above this. We don't need to go there deep, but just to say, and those guys are in agreement in order for them to get control worldwide, they need to get everybody to pull. So in other words, even China and Russia, I believe, based on my research, are part of the big game. There's digitalization moving forward, face recognition, biometrics, the whole thing from, in other words, digitalization into transhumanization. China is more advanced than any other nation because they don't have the law restrictions like we have in the United States with the Constitution, or here in Switzerland. We see that with our 5G activities. And so Russia has its own little thing, but on the end, I based on the research is that the Vatican has sent its Jesuits, okay, years ago to China and Russia to prepare for exactly this, what's coming, a worldwide consolidation. So in order for them to get it done, they need to destroy the United States, because the United States is the land of the free. In Texas, everyone has at least 4 guns. So they will protect everything they can for as hard as they can. They will literally die to. So they know in order for that worldwide thing to happen, they need to infiltrate into the government, into the Pentagon, the DOD, the Department of Defense, the Pentagon. So by the fact that they have vaccinated all their military assets, all the way through. And I know a report from the DOD that they know within the next 5 years, anyone that has been vaccinated with the real stuff, not with saline solutions, but the real stuff, they will lose 75% of their military assets, the United States Army. Now, how will we inject our military assets? So the whole crunch is a worldwide agenda working together, because here's the deal. With the World Economic Forum meets in Davos every year, right? Very, very few people know that there is also WEF meet every year in China. Klaus Schwab's son is married to a Chinese lady, upper scale. So there is a extremely well coordinated, up at the very top round table strategic plan to actually take this thing over. And they know that actually based on a communist system, it's the easiest way to facilitate it. So you have the powerhouses from the digitalization, the monetary aspects, so money and data together, US stronghold, but the government, the KPC, the Communist Party, China, with the government structure, that the coordination between the two is the perfect way to actually take it over. And so I do believe that the BRICS is strictly fresh wind in the sails over here where everybody's running to. It's controlled opposition. And here's the reason why, because 2001, chief economist O'Neill wrote the white paper back then, Goldman Sachs, for the BRICS. So, so if that is really independent, and right now, while they're putting the BRICS together, Russia, China, South Africa, so the BRICS nations, they're all still members of the International Bank of Settlements here in Basel. They're all members. Even Russia, it's sanctioned. Russia is sanctioned, but that's just for the outside. Internally, they still transact with gas and oil and stuff with Russia.
Of course.
So I think for me, summed together, it's an absolute theater. It's a theater. You know, we can get some popcorn and Coke and watch this thing go down, but it's not funny. It's really a serious deal.
Yeah, with the technology that there is today, which is much more advanced than what George Orwell could ever think of.
Yeah.
We are, because we can go under the brain, we can modify control behavior in chemical ways and electronic ways much better than. However, it seems to me, so I just throw this hypothesis, that because of the COVID, it went a bit too fast and a lot of people woke up, and internet allows, look at the failure that is happening in Gaza for Israel, which used to have a very powerful and sophisticated army. And now after 7 months, they're still not able to achieve their whatever goals they had, unless the goal is to create more chaos in the region. But it's a small country, so it seems that they went too fast. And of course I have to. So I may have a bias here, a confirmation or cognitive bias, because I actually don't want them to win. I want freedom for me and my children in the future and for everyone. But I have this impression that a lot of people are waking up. A lot of people use the internet to communicate, to talk, to organize, to prepare, and that it's just growing. Maybe not the majority, by far not, because majority is either too busy or too much into entertainment and other things, which is also planned, that's for sure. But don't you think that it's going too far? And perhaps this is my final question to wrap it up, and we'll do this again. Do you think what do you think people should do to stop this process?
Okay, the way I see it, Piero, is you're absolutely correct. You know, I think they're under immense pressure to get that agenda done. It's so complex even for them with all the controls they already have, but they know that this freedom movement that we have going on, and that's a lot of them are kind of guerrilla war strategy. So I mean, I'm not like fighting, but knowledge-based fighting, information and consulting these people with the alternative media. We have some breakthroughs there. You know, there's a lot of new alternative media that came out of this. A lot of journalists are extremely frustrated because of their investigative journalism, specifically. They can't be doing their job because the editors are throwing this stuff into the shredder. So, in other words, they can't do their job because it's like everything the same, and they can't, so they're censoring their own journalists. So they're coming out. They're almost like whistleblowers coming on our side of the alternative news. I call them the new media. And they're broadcasting exactly what we're talking about here, talking about facts. We talk about, statistics. We see what's happening here. And I think that the agenda, the big boys, they have, I don't think they've encountered this much opposition. And that is now causing more pressure. And with more pressure, they're making more mistakes. And that is exactly where we're going to have to hit them. And so we have to continue doing exactly what we're doing. And even in our own movement, there's some competition too. Everybody has a better mousetrap and stuff like that. So I could care less. But some people are even getting into each other's hair in the movement. It's always like that, okay? Because people are innovative, they're eager, they want to go, go, go. And so I think we just need to maybe network a little bit better, coordinate a few things better. And I think we have a chance. When I say the World Trade Agenda, that's their agenda. I'm not saying that they're going to be successful. I'm going to give my life to make sure that they won't succeed. I give my life for my kids and, my children's children. I'll go give full gas, but I'm doing it based on knowledge. And that's exactly what brings us together here, Piero. And all your viewers and listeners is exactly that. My time of activism, Piero, now is almost 25 years.
Wow.
My challenge is to take these 25 years and condense that into a website that, based on the theme, if it's 5G, all the really horrible EMF frequencies that we're exposed to, health issues there, the self-preparedness, blah, 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 local farming, with the monetary system, how do I prepare myself for the financial preparedness? Okay, do I go get all the money out of the bank? Do I buy gold, silver, Bitcoin, all that stuff? That's all there. So in other words, the challenge is take 25 years and put that into a website, an organized way for people based on demand, getting 25 years of experience in the most concentrated way, and get them. If someone wakes up today, Piero, they just wake up. It's like they had this dream. It's like, okay, all these conspiracy theorists, they're right. Everything they have been saying is happening. I'm changing side. They can come and they get the information. And literally within a few days, they can be exactly where we were 25 years ago. That is our challenge, Piero. And so we have to make sure that we continually stay on it and optimize what we already have done. Go back. Can we do it? Can we condense it? Optimize all this. This is where we're at. We have done a lot of things in the last few years, but we're constantly trying to improve and maybe use more multimedia videos and stuff where people don't like to read, they can see here. And really, this is all about trust, Piero. I'm always talking about trust. How do you get someone's trust when everybody's been lying at you? That's exactly what I said in the very beginning. I look what people do, not what they say. It's like, okay, is this guy still saying and actually doing what he said 5 years ago? And I'm still there. People can come watch where I live. Do I have my own garden? Do I have all my preparedness? Yes, you better believe it. And I think that's exactly it. We have to make sure it requires a mix of transparency in an extremely dangerous situation where we expose ourselves to the bad boys. They know where we live. They can hit us with frequencies that are not so healthy for us. So it's a big challenge. And I constantly try to figure out what can we do better for more people to get that clue much faster, and be up to date. And everyone takes, a little bit more or less time. We can't decide for them. It's just everyone learns a little bit different. But all I can do, the most important thing is the same thing for you and your viewers, is that you have gained your trust from your viewership. The people that follow you, that have read your books, they have taken your knowledge, they converted it into actually activities. They have maybe done courses and stuff, and we're doing the exact same things. And that is automatically, just like when you go to the military services, the first day they're all strangers, and when you say goodbye, you cry together, man, because you have done things together. It's just these experiences, and this is really what brings us together, and that takes time to gain that trust. Because I say I don't trust anybody anymore. Someone has to make sure and earn that trust. And however that is, they have to spend time with me. They have to do something where they have to earn the trust. And this is the same thing from them back to them. Or that I have to do something that they can trust me, and vice versa. That trust thing is the most important underlying thing. So even if we don't have any food more in the grocery stores and we are depending on our own, that's when we come back to really, okay, who has the skills, who has the know-how that I can follow and convert that knowledge into make sure that I can stay alive and I can take care of my family. And that is probably the most important thing that we can work on is to become 100% independent from the government. The government is not your friend.
No.
At the national, the canton, in other words, state level, and even into the communes, the communes here in Bern, they're delegating, manipulating, indoctrinating our communes. And they're not in our side. And most of the stuff is all government power stuff, and they're not our friends. So I say become totally and 100% independent from the government. And if you have that all ready to go, if you never need it, that's great. That's our wish. We never need it. Okay. So, but I wouldn't depend on any government. And if we're there, I think we've done our job, yeah.
That's very interesting. Is your website already live?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I will put the link in the description of the video.
Yeah, it's a pretty substantial website. We have multiple ones. I sent you all the links so you can post it.
Yep, I will post them. Christian,
yes.
Thank you very much. I think we'll have to speak again.
We will. We'll see each other. Sounds great. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Till the next time. Take care.